श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9, Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna, text 13 and 14. So both these verses are very important. So we will read both the verses. So please repeat after me. Na cha antaha na bahihi yasya na purvam na api cha aparam purva aparam bahihi cha antaha jagataha yaha jagat cha yaha tam matva atmajam avyaktam martyalingam adhokshajam gopika ullukhale damna babandha prakritam yatha न चान्तर्न बहिर्यस्य न पूर्वं नापि चापरम् पूर्वापरं बहिश्चान्तर् जगतो यो जगच्चयः तं मत्वात्मजम् अव्यक्तम् मर्त्यलिङ्गम् अधोक्षजम् गोपिकोलूखले दाम्ना बबन्ध प्राकृतं यथा न चान्तर्न बहिर्यस्य न पूर्वं नापि चापरम् पूर्वापरं बहिश्चान्तर् जगतो यो जगच्चयः तं मत्वात्मजम् अव्यक्तम् मर्त्यलिङ्गम् अधोक्षजम् गोपिकोलूखले दाम्ना बबन्ध प्राकृतं यथा। न पूर्वं अपि चापरम् जगतो यो जगच्चयः तं मत्वात्मजमव्यक्तम् मर्त्यलिङ्गम् अधोक्षजम् गोपिकोलूखले दाम्ना बबन्ध प्राकृतं यथा न चान्तर्न बहिर्यस्य न पूर्वं नापि चापरम् पूर्वापरं बहिश्चान्तर् जगतो यो जगच्चयः तं मत्वात्मजमव्यक्तम् मर्त्यलिङ्गम् अधोक्षजम् गोपिकोलूखले दाम्ना बबन्ध प्राकृतं यथा न चान्तर्न बहिर्यस्य न पूर्वं नापि चापरम् पूर्वापरं बहिश्चान्तर् Jagato yo jagacchayah tammatvatmajam avyaktam Martyalingam adhokshajam Gopiko lukhale damna Babandha prakritam yatha. Mataji's. Chantarna bahiryasya Na purvam napi chaparam Purvaparam bahishchantar Jagato yo jagacchayah Tammatvatmajam avyaktam Martyalingam adhokshajam Gopiko lukhale damna Babandha prakritam yatha. Na, not. Cha, also. Antaha, interior. Na, nor. Bahihi, exterior. Yasya, whose. Na, neither. Purvam, beginning. Na, nor. Api, indeed. Cha, also. Aparam, end. Purva aparam, the beginning and the end. Bahihcha antaha, the external and the internal. Jagataha, of the whole cosmic manifestation. Yaha, one who is. Jagatchayaha, and who is everything in creation in total. Tam, him. Matva, considering. Atmajam, her own son. Avyaktam, the unmanifested. Martyalingam, appearing as a human being. Adhokshajam, beyond sense perception. Gopika, Mother Yashoda. Ulukhale, to the grinding mortar. Damna, by a rope. Babandha, bound. Prakritam yatha, as done to a common human child. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Founder Acharya of ISKCON. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning and no end, no exterior and no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, He is all pervading. Because He is not under the influence of the element of time, for Him there is no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in His own transcendental form at all times. Being absolute, beyond relativity, He is free from distinctions between cause and effect, although He is the cause and effect of everything. That unmanifested person, who is beyond the perception of the senses, has now appeared as a human child, and Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text 12, Krishna is described as the Supreme Brahman, Param Brahma, Param Dhama. The word Brahma means the greatest. Krishna is greater than the greatest, being unlimited and all-pervading. How can it be possible for the all-pervading to be measured or bound? Then again, Krishna is the time factor. Therefore, He is all-pervading, not only in space, but also in time. We have measurements of time, but although we are limited by past, present, and future, for Krishna, these do not exist. Every individual person can be measured, but Krishna has already shown that although He also is an individual, the entire cosmic manifestation is within His mouth. All these points considered, Krishna cannot be measured. How then did Yashoda want to measure Him and bind Him? We must conclude that this took place simply on the platform of pure transcendental love. This was the only cause. Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Brahma Samhita 533. Everything is one because Krishna is the supreme cause of everything. Krishna cannot be measured or calculated by Vedic knowledge. Vedeshu Durlabham. He is available only to devotees. Adurlabham Atma Bhaktau. Devotees can handle him because they act on the basis of loving service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tatvatah. Thus, Mother Yashoda wanted to bind him. The translation again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning and no end, no exterior and no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, he is all pervading. Because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there is no difference between past, present, and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times. Being absolute, beyond relativity, he is free from distinctions between cause and effect, although he is the cause and effect of everything. That unmanifested person, who is beyond the perception of the senses, has now appeared as a human child, and Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope. So we're continuing this discussion on this pastime of Mother Yashoda binding Krishna. So this verse is a very famous verse. Actually, it's a very important verse also. This has been quoted by our acharyas. Baldev Vidyabhushan uses this verse to establish that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Prameya Ratnavali. That's the first Prameya itself. Baldev Vidyabhushan quotes these two verses. Then in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami quotes this to establish the position of Krishna. And in Bhagavad Sandarbha also, Srila Jiva Goswami, he dedicates an entire text. So there are a set of 5 texts, and those 5 texts are basically an explanation of these 2 verses. So it's a very important verse in that sense, and it's quoted in several other places also by Srila Prabhupada. So there are several ways in which we can understand this verse. It's a philosophical verse. We have been seeing this pastime where Mother Yashoda is trying to capture Krishna. He has already captured Krishna, and then she's trying to bind Krishna. So it's a very transcendentally pleasure-giving pastime. But in between, Shukdev Goswami has kind of inserted a very heavy verse here, which speaks in a very Upanishadic kind of language. Na chantar, na bhahiryasya, na purvam, na pichaparam. He has no internal, no inside, no outside, no exterior, no interior. So why did he do that? So from Mother Yashoda's point of view, she is unaware of the position of Krishna, and she is engaged in exchanging transcendental loving pastimes with Krishna. So for her, knowledge of the glories of Krishna is actually an impediment in exchanging these loving interactions with Krishna. But when these pastimes are narrated, when we are speaking about it, and originally when Shukdev Goswami narrated these pastimes to Parikshit, these pastimes become more relishable or more attractive by actually knowing the opulences, the glories of Krishna, and how he is acting just like a normal child. Just like he is such a great personality. He has been glorified in the Vedas and the Upanishads as the supreme absolute truth. And here he is as a small child, as a small baby, and Mother Yashoda is trying to capture him, is trying to bind him, and is running behind, or rather, she is running behind him. So, just to increase the to get a grasp of the compassionate and merciful nature of the supreme absolute truth of Krishna, Shukdev Goswami speaks this verse saying that although he is the most glorious and he is the supreme absolute truth, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, still just to reciprocate with his devotees, just to have affectionate dealings with them, full of intense love, he has assumed this form. This verse also says, Avyaktam Martya Lingam. Although he's Avyakta, he's unmanifested, but still he has assumed this form of a human child, Martya Lingam, just so that Gopiko Lukhe Damna Babandha Prakritam Yatha, so that Mother Yashoda can bind him, so that that interaction can happen. So this is one way to understand this. So Yashoda did not know who Krishna is, but when these verses come, it gives an inspiration to us that we can also reach that position. This is the actual manifestation of Krishna's mercy on his devotees. So the one who becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, he can engage in such kind of pastimes with the Lord. Then another point here is that this verse basically establishes Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. And this verse reflects another verse which came in chapter 8. So I'll just read the translation of that. I don't have it open here, so just give me a moment. I'll open it. So this Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, this is actually Canto 10, chapter 8 and text 45. So in his commentary, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that this is the Paribhasha Sutra of all of Krishna Leela, which happens in 10th canto. Okay, so Srila Jiva Goswami also established the Paribhasha Sutra for the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, which comes in the first canto, 3rd chapter, text 28, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Right? So, Ete Chamsha Kalah Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, Indriyari Vakyalma Loke, Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. So this verse basically establishes that Srimad Bhagavatam, now Bhagavatam means that which speaks about Bhagavan, which glorifies Bhagavan. And who is that Bhagavan? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So that's the Paribhasha Sutra for the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And wherever there are statements which seem to glorify Lord Shiva, there are some statements which seem to glorify some other demigods, or there are statements which might have some impersonalistic orientations also in Srimad Bhagavatam. All these statements, either conflicting or contradictory statements, are to be understood based on this Paribhasha Sutra, say Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, because that is the central point that establishes the entire narrative of Srimad Bhagavatam. So similarly, this verse from Canto 10, chapter 8 establishes the Leela of Krishna Leela in 10th canto. So this is Canto 10, chapter 8, text 45. Tariya chopinishadbhischa sankhya yogaishcha satvatam upagiyamana mahatmyam harim samanitatmajam. So the translation goes, the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the 3 Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya Yoga, and other Vaishnava literature. Yet Mother Yashoda considered that Supreme Person her ordinary child. Right? So, see, Traya means the 3 Vedas. Cha Upanishad Bhi, so even the Upanishads. And Sankhya Yoga, the scriptures which deal with Sankhya Yoga, and Satvatahi, all the Vaishnava scriptures also, and the devotees of the Lord. Upagiyamana Mahatmayam, they all glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And who is that Supreme Personality of Godhead? He is Harim. But how did Mother Yashoda consider him? She considered him as Amanyata. She considered the Lord as ordinary. Right? Mahatmyam, Amanyata, and Atmajam. She considered him as her ordinary child. Now this verse also, Shukdev Goswami is giving those descriptions which are to be found in the 3 Vedas, in the Upanishads, that there is no Nachantar, na Bahiryasya, na Purvam, na Pichaparam, Purvaparam Bahischantar, Jagato Yat Jagatchaya. This is the Upanishadic language. Now, this is how the absolute truth, Brahman, is defined to distinguish between anything which is material, which is conceivable by ordinary living being, and Brahman, which is the greatest, which is inconceivable to ordinary living beings. That's how it's defined. So, all the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Tantras and Vaishnava scriptures also, they give this kind of definitions. But what did Mother Yashoda think? She thought, Tam Matva Atmajam. Same word is being used, Atmajam. She just thought him to be an ordinary child, her own child, who is born from her. Atmaja basically means one who's originated from particular person, from him. Atmajaha, from him. So Yashoda, Mother Yashoda thinks that Krishna has come from her womb. He's born from her. So she thinks he's an ordinary child. Sorry. So this is in line with the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakri Thakur of that Paribhasha Sutra of the Krishna's Leela. So when we read Krishna's pastimes, this is what we should understand. So that is what Shukdev Goswami is reminding to Parikshit Maharaj. Because if we have this kind of understanding that the Lord, the absolute truth, is being glorified in all the three Vedas, in all these different scriptures by the great devotees also, as being the greatest, as Brahma, as the supreme absolute truth, and then the kind of pastimes that he performs, it basically enhances, it acts as an impetus or udipan for the devotees, the practicing devotees, to surrender onto Krishna and to engage in devotional service onto him. So therefore it is defined as Paribhasha Sutra. So that's one thing. Another is Acharya's comment that this is within the pastime itself. Now Mother Yashoda is chasing Krishna. She actually has caught him and then she's trying to bind him. So Krishna is saying this verse. Now Krishna is thinking, see, I have no beginning, I have no end. Right? Na chantar, na bahiryasya, na purvam, na pichaparam, purvaparam bahir chantar, jagatoya jagaja. I am the entire cosmic manifestation. The entire cosmic manifestation is within me. This is what I am. But oh my dear mother, you are not able to understand this. So how are you able to capture me? How can you capture me like this? This is my position. This is my position as the supreme absolute truth. But still you are trying to capture me. So Krishna is not speaking this to Mother Yashoda, but then he is thinking that in his mind. This is another feature of the pastimes, no? That the Lord, to engage in pastimes with his devotees, by the influence of Yogamaya, he forgets his actual position. But at the same time, he also remembers his actual position. So how is it possible? Both the things, how is it possible at the same time? So that is inconceivability. So this verse actually speaks about inconceivability of the Lord. So we'll go, as time permits, we'll go each word. Actually, it's a very wonderful verse because we can speak a lot on each of these shabdas. We will see how much we'll be able to cover. But this is the point that Krishna, he is aware of his position. At the same time, he is also under the influence of Yogamaya by his own will, so that he gets engaged in these kind of pastime. So it's like an argument of Krishna to Mother Yashoda that this is my actual position and you think I'm your ordinary child, but actually I'm not an ordinary child. And you are trying to bind me as if prakritam yatha, as if I'm an ordinary child, but that is not the case. And one more thing is, this verse is also glorified that by the pure love of Mother Yashoda, Krishna was actually bound by her. But then if we see, it actually has happened twice. In the previous verses also, I think in the 9th verse, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th verse, it's mentioned that Krishna was running and Mother Yashoda was running behind him and she was trying to capture him. And even great yogis who are trying to capture the Supreme Absolute Paramatma within their minds, they are not able to do so. So we already discussed that in the previous verses. So that absolute truth, whom the yogis cannot capture, Mother Yashoda was able to capture. So she has already captured Krishna. So by her love, she has already captured Krishna. So that's one instance. And now what she's trying to do is basically trying to bind him also. So this is another aspect of this verse. No? Babandha prakritam yatha. Gopi ko lukhale damna. Babandha prakritam yatha. She is trying to bind him by using ropes. So this is another feature, this is another glorious feature of this particular verse, where it's mentioned that she's trying to bind Krishna. And why is she trying to bind Krishna? The reason is that she wants to punish him. Correct? She wants to punish him. It's a form of punishment for Krishna. And why is that? Because as we have seen before, he has broken the pot of yogurt and then he has spilled everything. And then he has done other things also. So Mother Yashoda is apparently angry at him and she wants to give him punishment. Now, if you see, there has never been an instance in Krishna's pastimes where he has been defeated or he has been punished. Kamsa sent so many demons, so many Rakshasas. All of them have been defeated by Krishna, but Krishna never got defeated. And even after he moved to Mathura, then in Dwaraka, wherever anyone has come to attack Krishna, then he has always defeated them. He has not been captured, he has not been punished. But then this is the only instance in the entire pastime of Krishna's, like all the 125 years that he stayed or he manifested his divine pastimes here. This is the only instance where he is being punished, right, by Mother Yashoda. So that is also, it's an indication of Krishna's mercy on Mother Yashoda. So this was actually mentioned by Lord Vishnu in the 9th canto when Sudarshan Chakra was chasing Durvasa Muni. Then finally Durvasa Muni went to Vishnu and he said, Aham bhakta paradhino hya asvatantra iva dvija sadhubir grasta hridayo bhakter bhakta janapriyaha. Aham bhakta paradhino. So I'm always subservient to my devotees. Here asvatantra. Although the Vedas say that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead and I am completely independent, but actually I am not independent. I am actually bound by the love of my devotees. Sadhubher grasta hridayo. And these sadhus, these great devotees, have actually captured me within their hearts. And bhaktair bhakta janapriya. And it's not only they who are glorified, but also the devotees of such devotees who are actually captured me within their heart are also the most glorious. So this gives an indication, all that was spoken by Lord Vishnu, but then this gives an indication that not only Krishna is manifesting his opulence, but Mother Yashoda is also manifesting her opulence in that way. So if one becomes a devotee of Mother Yashoda also, he also achieves the same transcendental position. And this Srila Prabhupada describes in this canto, in this chapter itself, I think in text 3, where he mentions, where the bodily features of Mother Yashoda is explained, that she's wearing yellow sari, she has her anklets, it's tinkling when she's churning butter and trying to, she's churning this thing so that butter, excellent butter can be made for Krishna. And one who meditates on this form of Mother Yashoda, or one who wants to render service onto Krishna in this Vatsalya Bhav, he must meditate, that person must meditate on this form of Mother Yashoda, and that way he'll be able to achieve that transcendental position. So it's not only the Lord, but it's also the devotees who are glorious. And if one meditates on the devotees also, then also they achieve the same position. In this context, even Srila Prabhupada said that, so when one of his disciples asked that, at the end of our time, when we are about to die, if we remember Krishna, we'll achieve we'll go back home, back to God. But if we remember you, will we achieve the same destination? And Prabhupada said yes. Because the devotee is on the same platform, is on the same transcendental platform as the Lord. And even if he may not go back home, back to Godhead, but he'll be in association with his spiritual master, which itself is the transcendental position. So that way, the devotees of the Lord and the Lord are non-different from each other in that sense. Not that they're equal in every sense. And here also, Mother Yashoda and Krishna, they are non-different in the sense that there's an intense affection or attachment between them. But at the same time, Krishna is an individual and Mother Yashoda is also an individual. So, the way it's mentioned here, that Sadhubir Grasta Hridayo, the great devotees have captured me within their heart. Mother Yashoda has also captured Krishna within her heart. So, in the Acharya's commentaries, it's mentioned that Yashoda is actually churning butter, and Krishna, when she started churning butter after taking bath, after getting up, taking bath, and fulfilling all her morning duties, she was churning butter because she did not like her maid servants to do so, because she thought that they are not able to do a good job of getting nice churned butter for Krishna. So she herself was doing it, and she was sitting in such a place that she was able to look at Krishna sleeping. At the same time, she was also meditating and singing the glories of Krishna. And by singing the glories of Krishna, she actually went into that pastime. and she started meditating on it just like a yogi who is in samadhi. He meditates on the Lord. Similarly, Mother Yashoda also was meditating on Krishna's pastimes. So, actually in Gopala Champu, there's a song. The song which Mother Yashoda sings for, this is also mentioned in Bhagavatam. We saw in the previous verses also, Mother Yashoda was singing the pastimes of the Lord. So what she sang is actually mentioned by Srila Jiva Goswami in Gopala Champu. So that song is there. And when she's speaking, when she's singing that song, she is basically glorifying Krishna as the one who has been saved from Putna, the one who has been saved from Trinavarta, how Shaktasura was killed somehow, and the Krishna's delicate body was not even scratched at even one single place. So all this she was meditating, and she was actually, Krishna was manifesting within her mind. He manifested within her consciousness when she was singing about this past. Inside also, Mother Yashoda was thinking about Krishna. She was meditating on him, and outside also, every now and then she was glancing at Krishna, seeing whether he's sleeping or not, and whether he requires something. So she has actually captured him within her mind. And it was also mentioned in the previous verse that so this is all Acharya's commentaries. What I'm speaking about is this is Acharya's commentaries who speak about the glories of Mother Yashoda. So they say that Krishna was drinking the breast milk of Mother Yashoda. It was not actually milk, in sense that it was there for the nourishment of Krishna. Krishna does not require any nourishment. It's mentioned that the milk which came from Yashoda's breast was actually intensified love. The intense affection that Mother Yashoda felt for Krishna, it transformed into milk, and that was what Lord Krishna was drinking. And it's also mentioned that she's more fortunate than Nanda Maharaj because she was the only one who had the opportunity of binding Krishna like this. Nanda Maharaj was not there. And Acharya also explained that if Nanda Maharaj was there in this situation, what he would have done is, but just said, okay, my dear child, you should not do like this, and you should not do it in further also. So, and this is about it, no? This is how the father chastises the child, and that's about it. You should discipline yourself. You should not be so naughty like this. But when it comes to Mother Yashoda, she wants to punish him. There's more intense affection. There's more activities. There's no pastimes are involved, because the relationship between the child and mother itself is such that the mother can do all these things to the child, and it makes the situation more relishable. And she also thought where to bind. So if she binds Krishna's hands, then small hands, delicate hands, it might hurt him. So therefore, she should not bind in the hands. And if you bind him in the legs, then he'll just wiggle and then he'll come out also. So he should be bound in such a place where he cannot move and he cannot come out. So therefore, the only place is the belly. I think that will be discussed in the future verse. So that way, she was more fortunate because her meditation on the form of Krishna was more intense than Nanda Maharaj also. And it's also mentioned, Acharyas also speak that her dressing, her laboring, because this churning was not normal churning. She was putting lots of effort and lots of sweat, and all her Malika flowers, everything which she has been decorated by her maidservant into her braid, everything was loosening. And she was totally conscious of how wonderfully the butter can be made for Krishna's pleasure. And I think one of the acharyas, when they comment on this verse, they say that Mother Yashoda was actually more concerned about the butter than Krishna, and that is why she actually left him. So when she was feeding Krishna, then the milk started to boil. So if Krishna is the most important personality or most important lovable object for Mother Yashoda, she should not have left him. No, let the milk boil. But because she wanted to give the best milk to Krishna, the most condensed best milk for Krishna, and she wanted to serve him in that way, at that particular moment, Krishna was not even important for her. So she kept him aside, and then she went to look after the milk so that she can serve Krishna, and then he can grow well as a healthy child. So that was her concern. It's a motherly affection. So the mother also sometimes chastises the child, and the reason is not that she's really angry at him. It's for the betterment of the child. It's for the good for the child, right? When he does not eat or whenever he does some naughty thing, then the mother chastises the child. And the reason for that is so that he becomes healthy. He's always protected. He's always well nourished. So this is how the entire pastime happened, that Mother Yashoda kept Krishna aside because of this reason. Because for her, at that moment, the boiling milk was more important because it was meant for Krishna's service. And Acharyas also say that Krishna himself was astonished by Mother Yashoda's love, which means that Krishna could not understand how Mother Yashoda could have such intense affection for him. And it's mentioned that the position of Mother Yashoda is so glorious that she was able to sleep with Krishna for for such a long time. Every day, every night, Krishna used to embrace Mother Yashoda and sleep. And whenever there's a necessity of milk, because children, they don't have big belly, so once they take prasadam at night, then they cannot wait till the next morning. They get up in between and they cry also. So Krishna also used to do that. So in between, he was embracing Mother Yashoda and he was sleeping. At the same time, whenever he used to get hungry, then he also drink milk, Mother Yashoda's breast milk. So that way, also Mother Yashoda is very fortunate. And Krishna himself was astonished by the kind of affection which Mother Yashoda bestowed or Mother Yashoda experienced with respect to Krishna. So these are some of the comments which acharyas make with respect to this particular pastime or the verses which we have seen till now. Now coming back to this verse, now in the first verse, right? Nachantar na bahiryasya na purvam napi chaparam purvaparam bahischantar jagato yo jagatchayah. The first two lines, Nachantar na bahiryasya na purvam napi chaparam. These two are basically speaking about the personality of Krishna. And the next two lines, Purvaparam bahischantar jagato yo jagatchayah. These two lines are speaking about the activities of Krishna in creating this universe, this cosmic manifestation. Right? So, Nachantar na bahiryasya. He does not have, how does Prabhupada do? Okay, Antaha is interior and Bahihi is exterior. So he does not have an interior and he does not have an exterior. So Acharyas again comment and they say that when it's mentioned Nachantar na bahiryasya, it basically means that the Lord does not have a material body just like a normal human being does. So his external is Sachidananda Vigraha, his internal is also Sachidananda Vigraha. He does not have bones, he does not have muscles, no blood, no urine stool, all the abominable things by which a material body is made. The Lord does not have any of these inebrities. He does not have any of these limitations. So when it says Nachantar na bahiryasya, it basically means that his inside and outside is all Sachidananda Vigraha. Napurvam napi chaparam. And he does not have a beginning and he does not have an end. And Acharyas also comment that he does not have a front and he does not have a back. So Sridhar Swami specifically, while commenting on this verse, he says that Mother Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna, and when you have to bind somebody, then you have to go around that person, right? There should be front, there should be back, there should be interior, and there should be exterior also. And you are trying to bind him with his front and back, both together, right? But the Lord does not have a front or a back. Na purvam napi chaparam. So when he does not have that, then how are you trying to bind him? How is it possible to bind him? It's not possible to bind him that way. But still, Krishna will be bound. And Srila Prabhupada, when he's translating this, Napurvam Napi Chaparam, he says beginning nor end. And in the translation, he says that because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there is no difference between past, present and future. He exists in his own transcendental form at all times. So that's why he has no beginning and he has no end. There is no Purvam Napi Chaparam. And Acharyas again comment and they say that at this point of time, Krishna is not bound. Right? So this is what is happening in the present. In the past also Krishna was not bound. But in the future, he is going to be bound. But then the Lord is not under the influence of time. So how is it that now he is in a state where he is not bound? And how is it that in the next few moments, he will be in a state where he will be bound? He is the supreme absolute truth. How can he be bound? How can he transform or how can his position change with respect to time when there is no Purvam Napi Chaparam for the absolute truth? Right? So, these are different arguments which the Acharyas present, and at the end, the conclusion comes that it's all because of Mother Yashoda's unconditional love. Right? So, na chantar, na bahiryasya. He has no inside, he has no outside. Na purvam, na pichaparam. And he does not have any beginning, any front or an end. So, he cannot be bound. And he is not under the influence of time also. So, you cannot say that at this point of time he was not bound and in the future he will be bound. Right? So this is with respect to his personality. And Purva Param Bahischantar. So Purva Aparam Bahischantar. Now Srila Prabhupada translate the beginning and the end. Bahi cha antaha. And this is with respect to Jagataha. Jagato yo Jagatchayaha. So Purva Param Bahischantar. So the Lord Krishna is the one who is the source of creation. So when he creates something, it's logically understood that he should be present before the creation also. Correct? So therefore he does not have any beginning, in the sense that he does not have a beginning after the creation has happened. He is the beginning of the creation itself. So Purva. Purva Aparam. Aparam means he does not have an end. And the reason for that is because after the annihilation also, after the entire cosmic manifestation is destroyed, then also he exists. There is no Purva, there is no beginning for him in that sense, and there is no end for him. Because just like the cosmic manifestation has a beginning and then it has an end, the Lord, although he is within this cosmic manifestation, he does not have a beginning, neither he has an end. And again, Bahish Chandar. So now, the entire, with respect to this particular pastime, he is within this universe. Krishna is within this universe, Mother Yashoda is within this universe, and he is playing his pastimes. But then, now Purva Param Bahischantar. So he is inside and he is outside also. So inside we can understand, right? The pastime is happening within the universe, and it's outside also. And then I think Jiva Goswami comments or Vishnu Chakra Thakur comments that can be referred to from the pastime where he showed the entire cosmic manifestation within his mouth. And Mother Yashoda, she asked him to open his mouth to see whether he has eaten dirt or not. So the entire cosmic manifestation, the entire material cosmic manifestation is within him. At the same time, he is also within it. So how to understand this? So what is the actual position? Is Krishna inside or is he outside? Inconceivable. No, he is inside also and he is outside also. Now we say, no, Bahir Nashima, Hriday Nashima. He is outside also, he is inside also. He is everywhere. He is all pervading. But at the same time, because he is all pervading, he does not lose his individuality. He still has appeared as Martya Lingam. So that's the next verse. Tam Matvatmajam Avyaktam. So now till now, no, if you see this verse, the 13th verse, Na Chantar na Bahiryasya, na Purvam na Pichaparam, Purva Param Bahischantar, Jagatoyo Jagatchaya. He is the entire cosmic manifestation itself. Jagatchaya basically means it's not that he's only inside and outside. He himself is the cosmic manifestation also. So he's inside of it, he's outside of it, at the same time he himself is the cosmic manifestation as well. So how do we understand this? Nothing within our experience which actually can be applicable or which is applicable to this verse which defines the absolute truth. So therefore he is inconceivable. And cha yaha, so this person, Jagat Chayaha, this person is Tam. So I think Jiva Goswami, he comments that this verse can easily be taken in an impersonalistic sense. No? Actually, if you see the 13th verse, without any context of this pastime, this is a very wonderful verse for the Mayavadis to interpret that the absolute truth is impersonal. Right? But then Jiva Goswami comments, he says that no, it's not talking about impersonalism, it's actually talking about the personality of the Lord, and the two words which are basically defining it is Jagat Chayaha. So Yaha basically refers to that person who has all these inconceivable features, and that person, Tam, Matva, Mother Yashoda thinks Matva as Atmajam. Although he is Avyaktam, although he is unmanifested, but still he has manifested as if an ordinary child from the womb of Mother Yashoda. And that's how Mother Yashoda also thinks. Matva Atmajam Avyaktam. Although he is Avyakta, but still he is manifested. And Martya Lingam, Adhokshajam. And what form he has taken? Martya Lingam. Now Martya Lingam, the actual meaning itself means that one who is bound to die. Martya, one who will attain Mrityu, is called as Martya. So Martya Lingam, so he has assumed a form or he has assumed a mortal form. And how he has, although he is Avyaktam, he has assumed Martya Lingam. And how do you understand this? Oh, you cannot understand. It's Adhokshajam. The Lord cannot be understood. This Martya Lingam is Avyaktam. He has attained, he has taken the form Martya Lingam, but then you cannot understand it because he is Adhokshaja. And when commenting on this Adhokshaja word also, Acharyas says two things. They say Adhokshaja is we cannot understand the inconceivability of the Lord, of how an avyakta can become avyakta. Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhayah param bhavam jananto mavavyam anuttamam. So he says, avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhayah. So one who thinks that avyakta has become vyakta, he is a abuddhayah, he is a fool, he is not very intelligent. But here we see Shukdev Goswami saying, avyaktam martelingam. Avyakta himself has attained this martelingam, but it's apparent. It's apparent. How to understand? Because it's adokshada, it's inconceivable. You cannot understand it using your senses. So therefore it's adokshada. His form cannot be understood by our material senses. It can be understood only by transcendental devotees of the Lord. And one more thing is, one more meaning which Acharyas gave of adokshajam is that he is not manifesting his opulences in front of Mother Yashoda. So Mother Yashoda, through her transcendental senses, she is not able to understand Krishna's transcendental position, his Sachidananda Vigraha. So therefore, for her also, he is Adokshaja, because she is not able to understand Krishna through her transcendental senses. So Avyaktam, Martelingam, Adokshajam, like this. Now, so Gopika Lukhale Damna Babandha Prakritam Yatha. So Prakritam Yatha, so this word Yatha also indicates, or very firmly establishes, we can say, not only indicates that, okay, just to make an argument, the Mayavadis, what do they say? They say that Brahman is completely transcendental, but when we speak about the avatars or the Lord coming within this universe, he assumes a form, a material form. Right? That's the argument which is normally presented. But here it's mentioned, Tammatvatmajam avyaktam martelingam adokshajam gopikolu khale damna babandha prakritam yatha. Although this martelingam is being bound, or Mother Yashoda is binding this martelingam, which from avyakta martelingam, it kind of substantiates the understanding of the Mayavadis. And it says that, okay, this avyaktam has assumed this form of material, assumed a form of matter, and then that is being bound by Mother Yashoda. But then babandha prakritam yatha, although the Lord is being bound, but it's like an ordinary child. You see the word here, prakritam yatha is as done to a common human child. So she is binding him, thinking of him as a common human child, but actually he is not. So it's yatha, it is done as if it's a normal child, but then the Lord is actually not a normal child. That is what is to be understood. So, just to kind of recap to the entire thing, from a philosophical point of view, this verse basically establishes the inconceivability of the Lord, and from the pastimes point of view, it glorifies Mother Yashoda's love for Krishna. So, from a philosophical point of view, na chantar na bahiryasya, na purvam na api chaparam. There is no beginning, there is no inside, there is no outside, there is no beginning, there is no end. With respect to his creation also, purva, aparam, bahis, chantar. He is before the creation, he is after his creation, he is inside the creation, he is outside the creation. And jagatoyo jagatchaya, and he is the cosmic manifestation, he is the creation itself. So therefore, how to understand it? It's inconceivable to understand the supreme absolute truth. Tammatvatmajam avyaktam martelingam adokshajam gopiko lukhale damna babandha prakritam yatha. And this is the 14th verse, basically establishes the glorious position of Mother Yashoda for her unconditional love. So although the Lord is completely inconceivable, he has become conceivable for Mother Yashoda so that she can express her love, she can have this loving exchanges with Krishna, and Krishna is ready to surrender onto her. Right? We say, Krishna says, Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja, you should surrender onto me. But here, Krishna has surrendered onto his pure devotee, Mother Yashoda. So that is how the 14th verse has to be understood. So now, just a few more things. Actually, Srila Jiva Goswami, in his comment, he speaks, he gives several verses which speak about the inconceivability of the Lord. And there are some, these verses give a good understanding of the personality of Krishna. So he quotes from Narayana this Nitya Vyakto Pi Bhagavan Ikshate Nija Shaktitaha Tamrite Paramatmanam Kaha Pashyet Amitam Prabhum. So the translation goes, although he is always Avyakta, Bhagavan is seen through his Shakti. Without her, who can see Paramatma, the Almighty, who is not measured? So the Supreme Lord can be understood only when he manifests him through his Shakti. And Krishna also says that in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, I think, chapter 4, text 6, I think, Ajopisan Avyatma, Bhutanam Ishwaropisan, Prakritim Swam Adhisthaya, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. So Ajopisan Avyatma, Bhutanam Ishwaropisan. So although he is beyond this entire cosmic manifestation, when he comes, so Prakritim Swam Adhisthaya, by taking shelter of Yogamaya, he manifests himself. Prakritim Swam Adhisthaya, Sambhavami Atma Maya, by his own internal potency, he manifests himself. So Krishna can be understood only through his Shaktis, only through his internal potency. If the internal potency does not manifest Krishna, then he cannot be understood. Right? So Srila Jiva Goswami says, whether he's Vyakta or Avyakta, he cannot be understood in fullness. Right? That is an attribute related to his inconceivable Swarupa. Both of them, means his manifest nature and unmanifest nature, can occur simultaneously because he has limitless powers that are mutually contrary and non-contrary also. So they look like contradictory, but actually they are not contradictory. Since every one is inconceivable, because the Lord himself is inconceivable and his Atma Maya, which manifests him, is also inconceivable. Because when she manifests, she does not manifest just like a material form. It manifests the spiritual transcendental form of the Lord. So therefore, that is also inconceivable. And one more verse, Srila Jiva Goswami quotes, Achintya khalu ye bhava natam starkena yojayet prakritibhya param yacha tat achintyasya lakshanam. Indeed, one should not link by logical reasoning states of being that are inconceivable. What is different than the three gunas is a sign of what is inconceivable. So for us who are materially bound, who are within these three modes of material nature, we cannot understand the actual position of Krishna. We can understand that we cannot understand. That much we can do. Okay. So that is the proper understanding. Guru Maharaj says that we cannot understand Krishna fully, but if you can understand that there are some aspects of the Lord, his inconceivability is such that when we understand that we cannot understand him fully, that's the perfect understanding. That's how it is. So one cannot put a logical reasoning onto this. This verse is actually very famous. Srila Prabhupada quotes this at many places in his lectures. Achintya khalu ye bhava natam starkena yojit. With tarka we cannot be able to, we cannot understand. So prakritibhya param yacha. So one who is within the three modes of material nature, for him, tad achintyasya lakshanam. Achintya itself means that it cannot be understood. So that's the inconceivable potency of the Lord. So therefore, that's why in Vedic culture, the acceptance of pramana, the acceptance of Vedas as the Shruti and Smriti as the Pramanas is very important, because that's the only way that we can at least know something about Krishna. Otherwise, it is not possible. Right? So there are several other verses also which Srila Jiva Goswami quotes from Kurma Purana, from Nrsimha Tapani and all. And in Bhagavad Gita also, he quotes from Bhagavad Gita as well. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitah nachamasthani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram. I pervade the entire universe by my unmanifest form. Right? Maya tatam idam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. Through my unmanifested form, I entirely pervade the cosmic manifestation. Right? We also saw in this verse. No? Purva param bahischantar jagatoyo jagatchayah. That's how he's all pervading. But all things are in me. Matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitah. But I am not in them. Although everything is within me, but I am not in them. That's again, it's establishing this verse. Nor are all things situated in me. Nachamasthani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram. So this is my aishwarya. So this you should be able to understand that this is how it works out. Right? So what's the conclusion? So the conclusion actually is It's mentioned in the 10th canto, 14th chapter. So this is prayers by Lord Brahma. There he says, Athapi te deva padambuja dvaya. It's a famous verse. Prasada leshanu grahita evahi janati tattvam bhagwan mahimno nachanye ekopi chiran vichinvan. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. So, if you want to understand the Lord, then the mercy of the Lord is required. Right? And he also says in 11th chapter, 54th verse of Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Tvananaya Shakya Aham Evam Vidorjuna Gyatum Drashtum Cha Tatvena Praveshtum Cha Parantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So, although we say that the Lord cannot be completely understood, and which is a fact, but to the amount the Lord reveals Himself, He can be understood, and that is also possible only when one engages in pure devotional service. So, when we know that there are different types of pure devotees who are engaged in different rasas. So, there are devotees in Shantarasa, there are devotees in Dasirasa, Sakhirasa, Vatsalyarasa, Madhurirasa, different devotees and different rasa. So, Krishna does not reveal Himself completely to all these devotees. There are certain aspects of Him which He reveals to those devotees who are in Shantarasa. There are certain aspects of Him which He reveals only to devotees in Dasirasa. Similarly for Sakhirasa, for Vatsalyarasa, for Madhurirasa. No, Mother Yashoda cannot imagine what Krishna is doing after he's grown up, what he's doing at night with the gopis in Madhurirasa. Oh, it's inconceivable for her. For her, that is inconceivable. So Krishna does not reveal that aspect of His glory, of His opulence, of His personality to Mother Yashoda. Correct? And similarly, there are some aspects which are revealed to those devotees, the friends of Krishna, the Gopas, which are not revealed to other devotees. So therefore, Krishna is called as the reservoir of all pleasure. No, he is complete. He's just like an ocean, and the devotees can take that and can take some portion or some drops from that ocean and exchange loving pastimes with him. So Krishna cannot be understood fully by a living entity. It is not possible. But in a particular relationship, for that manifestation or for the relationship to have a fruitful loving exchange, so that much amount is manifested by the internal potency of the Lord. So when it is said that Krishna, He manifests Himself, Prakritim Samadhisthaya Sambhavami Atmamaya, so that is also conditional with respect to His devotees, in which rasa His devotees, how He wants to see Him. And Srila Prabhupada in purport to this particular verse, Ajopi Sanavayatma, he writes that how can we say that He is not manifest, because when He was there, so many people were able to see Him. Duryodhana saw Him, Kamsa saw Him, so many people saw Him, but they did not have any devotional feelings for Him. So how can we say that although He is there in His transcendental form, He never has a material form, He is in His transcendental form and everybody is seeing Him, so how can we say that He is not manifested? So Yoga Maya Samavritaha Mudhoyam Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam, is that it? I think Yoga Maya Samavritaha, that verse comes, where He is covered by His internal potency. So although He manifests Himself, He comes with this material world in His own self-same transcendental form, Sachidananda Vigraha, but still Yogamaya potency acts in such a way that He can be understood by some devotees based on their rasa, and those who are non-devotees, they can never understand Him. So there's a covering also. So it's all based on the consciousness of the living entity, how he wants to relate to Krishna. If even we saw there are so many Rakshasas, so many demons who came to kill Krishna throughout his whole life actually. So were they able to understand? Although they were dealing, they were actually hitting Krishna, they were fighting with Krishna, fist fighting also with Krishna. But by the touch of Krishna, were they able to understand? Were they able to experience transcendental pleasure the way Mother Yashoda experiences, or the way the Gopas or the Gopis experience? No. That's because by his internal potency, by his Yoga Maya, he has been covered. Although his personality is Sachidananda Vigraha, but he can choose to whom he wants to reveal himself and to whom he should not reveal himself, and how he should reveal himself to different types of devotees. This is what we see, this is what we understand from different pastimes of this 10th canto. That 10th canto, it defines the pastimes in Dasirasa, in Sakhirasa also. His pastimes with the Gopas will come. And then, especially in Gopal Champu, I think in Bhagavatam also it's there. In Gopal Champu, the Dasirasa is also glorified, where they're servants of Krishna, how they give bath to him, how they dress him. So that's in Dasirasa. Then Sakhirasa is there, Vatsalya Rasa is being glorified now. And then as the chapter progresses, when we come to 24, 25, 26, 27 chapters in 10th canto, we'll also see the Madhuri Rasa. So we'll see, like it's like a progression of different. The Lord, He exhibits, He manifests Himself in different ways in exchanges in pastimes with different devotees. And in each of these cases, Shukdev Goswami will also glorify the Lord as a supreme absolute truth, because that relishes, or that basically it, as you mentioned, it basically incites us. It basically gives an impetus for us to engage in devotional service and purify ourselves and see, and experience this transcendental pastimes with Krishna in future. Okay, so these are some points. So I'll stop here. It's already late. So if you have any questions, we can take that. Okay, so we'll stop. Srimad Bhagavatam ki